There are many barriers to communication, and these may occur at any stage in the communication process. Barriers may lead to your message becoming distorted, and you therefore risk wasting both time and/or money by causing confusion and misunderstanding. The skilled communicator needs to be aware of the barriers to effective communication and how to avoid or overcome them in order to convey a clear and concise message. Here are 10 common communication problems and mistakes. When we are communicating with someone, we often are not committing our full attention. We might be looking at our phones or laptops, watching television, or even daydreaming about something else. When we don't actively listen to the person we are speaking to, not only do we run the risk of making the person feel invalidated, but we also miss important nonverbal cues and may not fully understand the person's message. Next up, we've all done it. We're listening to someone speak, and we already assume we know what is going to be said before they finish their sentence. When we assume we know what the person will say, we miss what is actually being said. Thus, honor the speaker by remaining openly curious and listening intently for the message rather than predicting what will be said. We've probably all interrupted another person mid-sentence once or twice. It can happen accidentally, or we may get so excited about what we want to say and fear we will forget our response if we don't just go ahead and say it. Others may interrupt during arguments as a power move. Whatever the intention, interrupting can make a person feel invalidated, as if what they have to say is unimportant. So have respect for the other person and allow them to finish the message entirely before you respond. This action is reciprocal. The chances of someone not interrupting you when you don't interrupt them is much higher. And when we are discussing our feelings with another person, we need to own those feelings rather than place the responsibility on the other person. It can be easy to say, you did this, or you didn't do that, or you made me mad. But when we use I statements, we take ownership of how we feel and are less likely to make the other person feel attacked. Instead of saying, you didn't call me back, try saying, I felt hurt when you didn't return my call. When we react emotionally, we are likely to say things we don't mean. A good communicator allows emotions to sit for a while and then chooses to carefully respond rather than react. Remember, choose to respond from who you are, not who the situation makes you to be. As Viktor Frankl says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. Next up, cross-cultural communication can be difficult. Words can take on different meanings, and cultural norms surrounding nonverbal communication may vary. When communicating with people from other cultural backgrounds, it's important to account for cultural differences in communication styles. If we don't, we may accidentally offend or miscommunicate with someone. And we may misinterpret others more often than we think. To avoid this, it is best to give the person our full attention and paraphrase the message back to the speaker to ensure we have understood correctly. In today's society, we are more susceptible to misinterpretation as we rely heavily on technological communication. Without tone of voice and nonverbal cues, it can be easy to misunderstand each other. So when using text or email communication, be sure to use appropriate punctuation and ask clarifying questions to ensure you understand the other person. And being subtle and or indirect in communication is usually ineffective. We can't expect other people to read our minds. If you want someone to understand you, try being direct and try not to beat around the bush in conversation. When we are upset with someone, It is easy to say things such as, "You're a jerk," or "You're an idiot," or "You're insensitive." Rather than attacking someone's character, an effective communicator should address the actual behavioral issue and leave it at that. For instance, "I'm unsure what your intention was, but this is how I see or feel about the situation. And you?" And last but not least, when faced with the possibility of a difficult conversation, many people choose to avoid or prolong the conversation as long as possible. People usually perceive a conversation as difficult when they are faced with telling someone something that person doesn't want to hear. It might be delivering bad news or bringing up a conflict of interest. Keep all the tips in mind and take courage. Communicate clearly with the other person, and it will bear good fruit for your relationship.
If